Okay. Hi, hello everyone. So we wait a little bit for everybody to connect. Let's wait 1 minute. Thank you for joining us today. Hi everyone. Okay. We wait a little bit. Okay, 7 participants. That's great. Okay, so maybe we can start. So thank you everybody for joining us today for our third Wedge for Conscious Biz. We are very excited to have you with us. And we would like first to start with a little poll to know how you are doing, how you are feeling. So if you can please take 2 minutes to answer the questions. So how are you feeling today? So for us, it's good to know what is the mood. Okay. So pretty good. That's a very good news for us. Okay, nice. And okay, still pretty good. Okay, great. And Stacy, maybe we can. Okay, the second question. If we can ask the second question, how is your business doing? So great, 50%, struggling. Okay. Okay, so most of you have, okay, so and so. Okay, great. So we really hope that today's session will help you to learn concrete tips to improve your business strategy and to maximize your user experience. So first of all, I would like to give you some updates about our community. So let me share my screen. Up. Here we go. I still have, sorry. Sorry for this, share results. Stop sharing. Okay, so we go. So here are community updates. So as you know, we, Green is New Black, we are a community of 160 conscious brands in fashion, beauty, lifestyle, and F&B in 13 countries across Asia, Europe, and the US. As you know, we support you members through online and offline conscious festivals, digital content creation, and with a network of conscious brands, which means we are always happy to connect you with green partners like green distributors, suppliers, and also we have a WhatsApp group chat where you can connect with other conscious brands in Asia and Europe, and you can share your best practices. We have also, we organize members meetup. So for now, this is not possible, but hopefully once the quarantine is over, we can gather all together. And we have also the Wedge for Conscious Biz, which is a monthly event, and the goal is to help you to improve your business. And so that's why we ask to experts to come and to share concrete tips with you. So this is about Green is New Black. And so now some updates about the Conscious Festival. This is the first time we are going virtual, and this is happening on the 12th, 13th, and 14th of June. So what to expect? So you can expect all-in-one live marketplace, talks, workshops, and networking session. So for you members, as you know, you get a 30% discount on the virtual booth. And to give you a concrete idea on how it looks like, so we are working with Opin, which is a digital event platform. So we will be having the whole experience on Opin for the talk, the workshops, and the marketplace. And here you can see the marketplace, how it will look like. So you have your booth with your logo and a picture of your brand, and you will be able then to, when we click on the booth, people will be able to interact with you with the video, to ask you questions, to shop your products. They will see your discount codes. So this is very interactive. And for you, it's a great opportunity to connect with consumers in Asia, mainly Hong Kong and Singapore, but also in the UK and in France. So just to remind you that I sent to you some emails for you to get to know how the experience works. So can remember that at the bottom of the email, you can see that there are three buttons. One is our FAQ, which I think is very helpful for you. If you have any questions about the experience, I think you can really learn from the FAQ. But if you don't find your answer, you can still ask me by email or WhatsApp. And then the second button, this is for you to preview your virtual booth. This is a video tutorial we have been doing for you, which I think it gives you a concrete idea on how it looks like the booth. And the third button is for you to apply for a booth, but you can also submit your workshop's ID. This is something I forgot to mention. You will be able also to run a workshop alongside your booth. So feel free to let us know your ideas, and I will be happy to follow up with you and to see how we can involve you at the virtual Conscious Festival. So hopla, this is for the updates. And so right now I would like to go back to the presentation. I'm sure that most of you have already used Zoom before, but for those who haven't, you will see there is a chat function on the right-hand side and a Q&A function. So you can ask your questions at any time, and we will answer to them at the end of the presentation. And now I would like to introduce you to our lovely speaker, Corinna Bodea, based in the UK. So for her, it's now 9 a.m. In the morning. And so Corinna Bodea is an UX designer, and she's the founder of Design Consciously. So she has been working as a professional UX designer for various industries for over 10 years. She has now set up Design Consciously to create a positive impact through design, research, and strategy. And she supports social impact businesses with ideation, branding, user experience, and all things design. So Corinne, over to you now.
Thank you so much. It's lovely to be here.
You're welcome.
Thanks for the introduction, and thanks everyone for joining. I'm quite excited to be today here online with you and talk about user experience and UX. My background is in graphic design, so I've moved into UX after freelancing for a number of years, and I worked in a number of countries and projects. And today I'm hoping to take you through a few definitions of what UX is, a number of created strategies that maybe would support you to growing your business at this point in time. So I will go ahead and share my screen. And we'll start with a definition of what is UX. I'm sure everyone is familiar with digital experience. In terms of approaching UX as an enabler for business growth, the way I consider it is that it's a collection of all experiences from beginning to end, and it includes the digital space as much as any physical touch point. So it's anything related to your website, logo, brand, tone of voice, customer support, any physical shops, packaging, unwrapping a product. So it's important to consider it from end to end, and it can be really valuable in enabling business growth. Now, the industry is fairly new, and people refer to UX using different terms: customer experience, service design, user-centric design. It pretty much is the same output, and is just used differently by different organizations and groups. It's also important to consider UX as a journey. Any metaphor really would work here, but fundamentally anything that has a beginning and an end is a good concept to think about, because oftentimes UX is maybe not as good as it could be, simply because we are in a rush to deliver a digital or physical experience, and we don't take the time to consider the end-to-end experience. But fundamentally, considering the start of a customer's journey up to a desired outcome, whether the focus is on making a sale or engaging with your brand, always consider the step after that to ensure that the experience is seamless and it's a coherent narrative, really. Another aspect that it's often overlooked, and it can really optimize things for a business and its growth, is that UX is an ecosystem. We do talk about the customers, but there are other users that enable a joyful experience for the customers. And these are anyone supporting the manufacturing process, packaging, any distribution. So for business owners who may have a bit of visibility and maybe control over those processes, it's important to take it into account. And it's important to optimize the UX for these participants as much as possible. There are a number of big pillars in user experience, and I'm sure this is not new to most of you. It's mostly linked to research, strategy, and design. There's a lot of thinking that goes and ideation and visioning behind any product or service for it to come together and work well and deliver value. But fundamentally, the research is around the current landscape, what exists in the world similar to my product or service, how do my potential customers feel, what do they need, how am I going to meet their need, how are they reacting to the user experience and the product services I deliver, for example. Strategy is about vision, it's about the business model in place to deliver that value. And ultimately, design is just an enabler. It's a communication tool. It's how we deliver all the thinking that's been invisible to the user so far. And maintaining a good UX is an ongoing process. So it's an iterative loop that we would go back and we revisit the research, the strategy, the design. So constant growth and change is required to maintain a good UX. Repeating the research could be the focus about how are customers feeling and behaving. That potentially is the biggest question, but there are other questions that could be tapped into part of this area. In terms of strategy, it maybe requires sometimes to pivot, to change the way our vision and strategy is implemented. And iterating the design is always useful, either introducing an app alongside our digital offering or tweaking the existing user experience. The great thing about UX and what really attracted me to the field is that it's measurable. So you can truly measure how effective the user experience is. And there are two aspects to this. One is research and one is analytics. I'm going a bit more in detail with this because it's fairly important and it's really insightful and valuable. For example, the research element has, I'm just checking, sorry, there's a chat. Oh, thank you. For some reason it paused again.
Hopla, is that okay?
Thank you, Claudia, for letting us know. I hope you can see it okay.
Yes, yes, cool. It is okay.
Good. So we are on the how to measure UX slide.
Yes, perfect.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Glad it works, Claudia. Thanks. Cool. So I might just keep the chat there in case something else comes up. So basically in the research area, there are two types of research, and one is customer research, as in getting insight into how the customers are feeling, how their perception of your brand works, what works for them, what doesn't. And this can be a fairly inexpensive exercise through questionnaires, through polls, through emails, ideally with interviews. It's a really nice way to speak directly to customers, because not only there'll be opportunities to learn what doesn't work for them and what you could tweak, but also it's a great way to hear what does work, and feeling joyful that your experience is delivering value and bringing happiness to others, really. The other element of research is validating user design. So this is validating the visual design if you're introducing a new checkout, any other journeys that you want to redesign. It'd be good to really run them by real users, whether they're in your target market, which is ideal, or even with friends. Anyone could provide useful feedback just to fine-tune that last bit of UX. And again, this can be quite inexpensive. It can be done remote. If you can recruit your participants, it can be really easy and can provide a lot of golden insight. Now, in terms of analytics, I think everyone is familiar with quantitative and qualitative. We've got Google Analytics, which is quite powerful to give us the number of how many customers, how many sales, how many returns. There are other dimensions of analytics that are often not taken into account, such as the qualitative side. And there are tools out there that can be implemented, such as Hotjar or User Experience for apps. And they follow the user behavior. They look at how they interact with the UX, and also if they drop off. So the qualitative analytics combined with some user research could really help understand their motivations behind dropping off. Whether it's they've been interrupted or they're no longer interested, it is really useful to know. There's a lot around research and analytics. I've done a lot of research and I've worked with a lot of experts in analytics. And this is just really a synopsis of how this could help your business. There's a lot of information online as well, but do consider it because it has great potential, and from my experience, it has really supported businesses to achieve growth. It says my sharing is paused again for some reason. Sorry about this. Let's start again. So I hope everyone can see we're on to the top 10 UX checklists. And these are just a few elements that are part of the UX. It's not an exhaustive list. There's more to be taken into account, but these are the most important in the sense that they have the ability to really make a change and deliver more value. So first of all, UX is user-centric, so taking into account users at its center and designing and considering from that point of view, it's really, really important, and ensuring that everyone can successfully complete their task, no matter what they are, whether customers or people who are supporting your business ecosystem. Then consistency is key. And I'm sure we've all been delighted with exceptional user experiences when we're engaging with the brand across mobile, across web, any printed materials, through their tone of voice and visual design, any events and offline offerings. So it's important to keep it in our list as well. Ultimately, I think we are all quite advocates for ethical, inclusive and accessible design. There are a lot of guidelines and design standards to help businesses achieve this successfully. For example, in accessibility is ensuring there is enough contrast so that a link or a button or text if potentially placed over an image, it's very easy to be identified, read, and making sense of. In terms of usability, again, there are similar guidelines available out there that provide a very long list of standards is the hierarchy of information. And cool. Gosh, sounds like a few issues this morning. Glad you're hearing me again. Clearly, the information, the hierarchy is very important. So this is could do with text, the difference between a headline, a secondary piece of information, using font sizes and color to convey that is very useful. Grouping things together that belong together is also quite useful as well. And moving on to our checkout process, which tends to be a quite important aspect of the digital experience. The checkout process is often optimized through a number of ways, but these points that I've listed here are the ones that I've mostly worked on. So it's important to minimize the number of steps. We do this by understanding what information needs to be displayed on every screen and ensuring that the user has absolutely no issues to know where to click next, and that they have, of course, enough information to enable them to do so. They feel confident about moving on. Allowing guest checkout refers to requiring the minimum personal information to enable a checkout process if someone doesn't want to register. Clear feedback, as in once you click a button, maybe adding a product to your cart, is very visible to the user that that action has been recorded, that item is now in the cart, and they continue shopping, or they could go to the next step. Potential errors are user-friendly, clearly signposted as well, so they can easily recover and move on. And one aspect of the shopping experience that oftentimes is overlooked are the abandoned orders. And these are to do with users stopping in the middle of the process and not completing the checkout. So fundamentally, whether they have changed their mind or they've been distracted or interrupted, it's always good to go back, contact them via email primarily to understand the motivation behind that action. Whether you could incentivize them to come back and complete their checkout, or just understand what made them change their mind if they decided against going ahead with the purchase. Alongside this experience, confirmations are quite reassuring. So having an email confirmation as to what happens next is really, really useful. Following up on the whole experience, I briefly touched on. So this is engaging with your customers to understand perception about the brand, UX, product, services, end-to-end, and learning from them exactly how they consider all those interactions. Measuring and analyze, again, is tracking the customer behavior and their opportunities on what could be improved, and even opportunities on how to extend your offering, really. It oftentimes happens that there's a conversation and a customer would mention something they're looking for and they're unable to find it, or not in the form or shape that would work best for them, which helps the businesses to consider new ways of doing business. Less is more, good principle to have, and it's simply about what could be removed from the digital experience, from the physical experience that wouldn't really impact negatively the end-to-end journey, but it would simplify it. And this means that it'd be less effort to maintain, it'd be less effort for a user to interact and consider. So it's a really good approach to take. And performance, we are all expecting things to load fast. It's also to do with how long would a customer wait to get a reply to a question. So these are all things that are part of the UX and can really make a difference. Most of the projects I work on are about redesigning one particular point in the user experience. So I just wanted to point this out, that in case you're considering either plugging in anything in your checkout process or changing one screen, part of your website or journey, it's always important to consider where the user is coming and when they're going to next. And any changes you make, it'd be good to consider if there's enough information and the right type of information for a customer to move on confidently forward. If it looks visually coherent with your brand, is it in line with the strategy? Ideally tested, and check it on multiple devices and on multiple browsers to see that it works well. Now, around the mindset, which is really important to create resilience, to create insight and creativity. So for a successful UX, it's also important to consider past activities that maybe didn't work that well. So it's the question, what have we learned so far? Any mistakes, any failures of the past are really just learnings, and taking that wisdom into a current decision and for the future can be really valuable. Equally, a scenario that is often overlooked is around customers who have previously engaged with the brand, they purchased a service or product, and they no longer do that. Now, this is not relevant for when this product or service has been discontinued, or it's a high value item and the customer, the pattern of how customers engage with our brand is slightly different. But it's engaging with these customers to understand again their motivations around stopping to do so. Because it may be that there's information that wasn't apparent through the digital experience, and they're considering returning the product, or they just chose not to. But ultimately, it's very can be a very useful insight to get. And on to our current climate. We live in uncertain times. It's a lot of confusion, a lot of change, a lot of fear, and this affects creativity. So I'd really invite you to just rest, take time to recharge, refocus, rethink your product's feature set, while of course remaining aware of your mood and maintaining good energy, and channeling that energy maybe into research and researching on tools and ways that could help you optimize. So maybe delegating any basic tasks, potentially getting a virtual assistant to perform those basic tasks to free your time, or automating social media posts to create consistency in your social campaigns. But ultimately, it's also very important to relax, relate to your customers, have conversations with them, try to learn as much as possible, and also maybe talk to experts and delve into topics that maybe you've considered to implement in your business but didn't have the time until recently. So reach out to them and find out as much as possible, ask questions, and of course, equally important is call your friends. Make time to call friends. I wanted also to touch upon some creative business strategies at this time. There's still a lot of things we could do to grow our businesses, even if the perception is that people are not spending money all that much. But there are efforts that could go into nurturing in terms of engaging with current customers and new ones, socializing your brand, the vision, maybe presenting videos or email newsletters with content that your ideal customer care about. So it's in a ways creating a community that you can later on tap into and present your brand and your product and services, and they would consider engaging with them and buying. Another area to focus, as a strategy, you could extend into geographical locations that you haven't tapped into before, other customer groups, and maybe even come up with a new business vision that would adapt to current circumstances. There's potentially maybe pre-loved things getting a new life, bulk selling to reduce expensive shipping. Would you allow maybe for someone to purchase a gift from you? So different ways that we can creatively apply at this point. Partnering up is also something that could work. There are other businesses out there that may have similar services and products or are a good match, and maybe you could just partner up and deliver value together. It will result in good collaboration, mutual support, but even potential cost savings. Ultimately, there's also reaching out and expanding your potential customers through contacting influencers, and they can promote your product and services alongside their own brands, or if they have other channels through which they do virtual competitions or product endorsements, join podcasts, anything along these lines. So there are a number of creative business strategies we can still consider at this point. Of course, it will depend on your brand, on the type of product and services you offer. But there are just a few points to consider and put energy into and see that it might work. There are also business models that I wanted to bring into this conversation, and if they're applied consciously, they could really help a business grow in other industry that maybe they haven't really been applied yet. So the question is, how could this work for us? Could it work for us? And how well could it do so? There are other industries that function on a subscription-based model. They offer payment plans. If it's a high value item, this can be distributed across a number of months on a particular timeline that makes sense. There are referral models and brand champions. There's exchange of products such as noise barter or swapping. Anything to do with events, training, workshops, courses, it might be something you could extend into. Maybe aggregators and supermarkets where you could present your product and service along other brands. Any loyalty schemes that you could design now to encourage your customers to engage with your brand for the long term. A revenue stream could be produced through a licensing model. Equally, bundling of products and services. And why not affiliate marketing? All these business models have proved successful in other businesses. I think the important thing is just to apply them consciously and only apply them if they make sense for your brand. Creatively, we can also tap into looking at things from a new perspective. This is another technique where we are looking at the same thing and reframing it, because looking at it from a different perspective will reveal a different angles, and it would help with new ideas. So I could invite you to do that as well, alongside considering any other options at this point in time to still grow your business and nurture your customer base. Brainstorming can be fun. It can be also very, very useful. There are a number of techniques out there that present step-by-step approach on how to brainstorm, how to ideate, design thinking techniques. But fundamentally, we should start with a hypothesis or a problem, or calling out an idea. How might we do something? And then the important thing is to just start sketching, drawing, molding, designing, whatever it is that helps you express that idea. And it's essential that there's no judgment, there's no analysis and qualifying if it's a good idea or not, if it's feasible or not. And it's just using our brain and our hearts creatively to come up with a number of ideas in any shape or form, really. The next step generally is to pick 2 or 3 that you feel they have a bit more potential in them and expand them further. And while you're building on these ideas, the really winning ones will emerge either through elimination or evaluating it intuitively or getting user feedback from others. But there will be ideas worth putting into practice that you would have identified through a brainstorming exercise. It's really good to do, and you can involve others if you wish to. But it's another way to identify new territories, new ways of doing things. Yeah, why not? And this is very close to my heart. Whatever it is, I think we can design it consciously, and there's a great benefit in doing so. User experience is a really great way to deliver value for both customers and businesses. It's really a win-win. I'm sure there are a lot of situations that you've come across great user experiences with other brands in your digital journey and non-digital as well. There are purposeful design decisions that can really uplift the brand. The good thing about purposeful design decisions in user experience is that they can be measured, they can also be monetized, they can create great value, and ultimately they also delight our customers. In case you are unsure of any design UX decisions you are considering, don't spend much time overthinking it, but take a practical step to test it. Now, again, if you engage with your customers or if you are reaching out to contacts or friends, it's always good to get objective feedback from anyone else because they'll bring a fresh perspective to the problem, to what you're trying to decide upon. If you follow a particular structured approach, if you have a list of questions that are ideally open-ended, so they don't elicit an answer by yes or no. So starting up with a set of questions, and if you run those questions with potentially 3 people, usually there is a pattern. And it's a good approach really about making design decisions and decisions in general. But it's also equally important to trust your intuition and what you feel is in line with your brand. Another aspect of conscious user experience is to create trust. This is, of course, linked to customer loyalty, but there are a few design patterns. They are currently labeled as dark design patterns, where they are implemented to lead the customer through a particular journey by confusing them, or pre-selecting checkboxes for marketing content. So those are elements that I think they're obsolete. They shouldn't really be used, and we need to move towards more ethical way of designing, creating user experiences. Again, UX is a fairly new field. There are a lot of designers that are self-trained. There are a lot of designers that have moved into user experience from other fields, such as program managers or business analysts, visual designers, technologists, developers, and everyone has their own interpretation. I just wanted to bring to your attention this quote from Donald Norman, and he's wrote a brilliant book called The Design of Everyday Things. The way he talks about design, both in physical and digital world, is a very user-centric approach. And this aspect that he points here is about good design being actually a lot harder to notice than poor design. in part because good designs fit our needs so well that the design is invisible. So ultimately, it's designing an experience that the user going through it doesn't really have to think about in terms of where I click next. What does this mean? What does it mean to me? It's mostly going in a seamless journey without worrying at any step at a time, and being a really pleasant experience for them that they would like to revisit in the future. So that's pretty much what I've prepared for today. I realize there is a lot of content. There are a lot of areas that I've touched upon that are quite just a synopsis of what they can actually deliver for businesses. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. There are a combination of things that could be more appropriate for your business in terms of user groups, user types, products or services you are delivering, size of your customer base. So if you do want to delve into more detail in any of these areas, please don't hesitate to get in touch. My details are on this slide. I think there might be an email going out with my contact details as well. So do get in touch. At the moment, I'm running a UX clinic for soulful businesses. So I'm offering a 20-minute consultation, a discovery call for free to delve into areas that you like to discuss. And I'd be happy to help forward. I also have a wide network, so if I'm not the right person to help, I'm sure I'll find someone who could. So do let me know if you have any questions.
Yeah. So any questions for Corinna? We can wait 1 minute to see if any questions come up. Or any comments. Okay. Okay, so thank you so much, Corinna, for your presentation. I'm sure it is very helpful for the members. So right now, what we will do is we will share your presentation tomorrow to the brands with your contact details. So if anyone you have questions who come up later tonight, you will be able to contact Corinna directly and to ask separately your questions. So thank you so much for joining us today. And if you have any comments, any ideas for the next Wedge events, please you can leave your comments. You can see there is the chat function, so you can leave your comments here, or you can just WhatsApp me or email me. I'm still happy to get your feedback and to see how we can improve every month our series of Wedge events. So thank you so much. And also don't forget, if you would like to subscribe to get a boost at the virtual festival, the registration are still open until Monday. So please let us know if you would like to subscribe, because we will be opening to external brands on Monday. So thank you so much, Corinna.
Great. Thank you,
Stacy, for helping us to run the session, and thank you to all. And we wish you a very good evening and a good end of the week.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Stacy. Thank you, Corinna. Bye.
Bye.